Again, we're working same way on this shear. Take a look. A little more inside line on this one, but still very weak, especially in the early entry of the shear. We'll pull back to pull any burrs off. Wipe that down. Oop. Towel disappeared. Get any excess burr off. Another thing that I do too that I didn't show last time I worked the shear is I tend to pull my burrs back, pop them off with a nappy towel just to make sure that I've gotten rid of the majority of the burr that's been pulled back by the waterstone. And now I will work the inside of the shear. Now, a question comes up from time to time as well as to whether or not you should work the shear before you do the sharpening on the waterstone to establish a really good inside line. Quite frankly, at 6 of one, half dozen of another, you can do it either way and the blade will come out fine, but you do have to do work on the inside of the scissor between your sharpening and your polishing to make sure that any burrs are pulled away on the shear from the sharpening side before you go over to the polishing side. And you will regret that if you do not do that. So just because some people do work the inside of the scissor before they do any of the sharpening on the shear doesn't mean they are not doing this step in the process, which is pulling the burr back and just touching up their inside line that they created before. So I'm going to continue until I bring up a good inside line, and then we'll go ahead and polish this blade on the Okami. Now that I have worked the inside of my blade, I am going to go ahead and replace the blade back in the clamp. A little hard to see, I'll turn it up in just a minute, but just like I did on the other side, I'm going to clamp it halfway over the pivot hole, with the pivot hole over to the left. You can see that's the position that I have my blade in. I have clamped it in the sharpening position, so blade is up. I need to flip this thing around into the honing position, and I will do my polish now back and forth on my blade, making sure that is straight across the face of the clamp. We will start this out. Pull out our polishing compound. Add a touch of polishing compound to the wheel. Reset that clamp back in. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my polishing on my actual cutting edge to start with. I'm going to do about 10 strokes or so. And my edge is polished up nicely, so now I'm going to add a little more polishing compound. Sounds to me like I did not tighten up the wheel enough. And I'm going to do polish, rotate up and polish, rotate up and polish, rotate up and polish, until I get up to the spine of the wheel. I'm going to shut this down. If you hear that noise, it just means that one of your wheels has loosened up a little bit. You can actually hear that chatter. I'm going to go ahead and correct that. Be just a sec. That's a quick thing to fix. It just takes a second to do. All it is 3/4 nuts on the ends of the shafts, and what I forgot to do was tighten them. When I was prepping everything to shoot the video, I had switched the wheels, but forgot to do the actual tightening step of tightening up those nuts. If you have your video that comes with the Okami, and I will put a new video out on this as well on YouTube here in the future, you can actually shock those nuts into place. And the way that you shock those nuts into place is just tighten them down to reasonable tightness by hand, and then take your 3/4 inch wrench, put it over that nut, and then strike it with your fist, or you can use a rubber mallet or something like that just to shock that nut into place. There is also on this side of the machine, there's a slot in the side of the shaft that you can use a large flathead screwdriver to hold it in place and crank everything down too. Also remember, on the left hand side of the machine it is a left hand nut, on the right hand side of the machine it's a right hand nut, because you always want your threads of your nut to go opposed to how the wheel is actually spinning on the machine. So keep those things in mind and you will be in good shape. Let's see. Alright, this blade is looking pretty good. I need to do some work at the tip. And again, all that I'm doing as I do the work on this blade is I'm working my edge, but I'm just rotating upwards. You can see how I've gone up just a little bit on the clamp. I'm going to work my tip. I'm going to rotate up again, rotate up again, rotate up again, rotate up again, and then back down towards that edge. Up and down. Up and down. Up and down. And again, you can watch that convexing clamp video as well and see what I'm doing right now. I have basically reconvexed the front surface of this shear, even though I had to do a lot of work to this. Let's see if you can see that in the video. I'm not sure how well that's going to come as far as lighting is concerned. But you can see that I have a good looking rounded over convexed front surface on this blade now compared to a 35-degree angle I had cut on the edge earlier. So that's the steps for going through this left-handed shear on the Okami Gold, and we'll put this thing back together and then we'll do a quick test to finalize this video. Alright, we will go ahead and test the shear now that it's actually put back together. I'm holding it with my right hand right now. I'm going to do a quick test all the way up to the tip. Cuts clean. This is on dry paper towel. Dry tissue paper right now, and I'm going to do the same thing with my left hand. Looks good. I'm also going to wet my tissue paper. And we'll do a cut. See if it's clean to the tip. It pulls right away. I'm going to do the same thing. I'll just test it again with my right hand as well just to see. Okay, good, smooth, clean cut. I'm letting the scissor do all the cutting on its own. It was assumed when this was sent in that there was a set problem with the scissor. The real issue with this shear, not so much the 35-degree angle, because it'll still cut okay at 35 degrees, just won't cut as well. But the real issue with the shear was the inside work. The inside work was radiused on the inside, and that caused the shear to not cut. I can't tell you how many times shears come into me like this. Really, the work on the inside is just as important, if not more important, than the work that's done on the front surface of the blade. So I may do a video here in the future that focuses solely on just that inside work. But keep that in mind. If you have questions about this, you can give me a ring at Wolf Industries. It's 1-800-888-3832. Again, it's 1-800-888-3832. I am always happy to help there. And let me see if I can grab you another number too that you can ring. It is 864-381-8697. Again, that's 864-381-8697. And you can reach me there pretty much anytime. So, I hope this helps a little bit with sharpening a left-handed shear, seeing how to set up the hair to do that, even though there is another video that's out on that, and also seeing how to sharpen the true left-hand shear on the Okami with the convexing clamp. Make sure you work your insides properly, guys. Very, very important when you're sharpening high-end beautician shears.